I'm Drutter, and today is November the 20th, 2020. I just returned from a shopping excursion in my small town here in the Okanagan region of British Columbia, and I went maskless today in a mandatory mask world. And this report on my experiences will be interesting to some, but it will make a little more sense if you see my video yesterday when I talk about the mandatory mask order that had just come into effect here in BC. And I think most of Canada now, or all of Canada now, is under mandatory mask orders. And I've been reporting on this since the beginning of the pandemic. And in fact, I've been reporting on it since before it happened for many years, because I was reporting on something happening. I didn't say it was going to be a pandemic, but something to collapse the economy and change society completely. I've been reporting on for many years and saying that that was coming and being called paranoid and completely crazy for many years because of that. And now, of course, it is common knowledge that all of society is changing in every possible way, and there's nothing we can do about it. Here today in British Columbia, of course, masks are mandatory inside all buildings, so whenever you are inside, you are to be wearing a mask. They don't say specifically that it has to be in your own homes, because of course they can't enforce that, but everywhere else you have to be wearing a mask. And in a lot of public places outside as well, you must also be wearing a mask. So it's almost mandatory that you be wearing a mask from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night. And who knows, maybe they'll start telling us to wear it while we're sleeping as well. I don't know. It's been hard to predict this thing because it has been actually a lot more bizarre and a lot more unpredictable than even the most wild, crazy conspiracy theories ever imagined. This has been as some people are saying, a COVID-19 84 nightmare, and it really has been. Today here in my small town, I went to 6 shops, and I want to tell you about each of those. The first one I went to was the post office, and it's in Canada we have a national post office, so this is a government building, and there was no mandatory mask notice on the door, and of course I did not have a mask. I don't even own one. I have never worn one, and I won't. Now let me pause there. I did wear a mask when my son was born a year ago, 13 months ago. My son came into being in Vancouver just before the pandemic broke. And we moved up here to a small town to get away from Vancouver, thinking, something's coming. This is not a good place to raise a baby. And I guess we were right. But the small town experience has been interesting as well. And the reasons that I don't wear a mask, there's many reasons. I've talked about those in the past. Here I'll be brief, but I do have both physical health conditions and mental health conditions that preclude me from wearing a mask, and I have doctors that agree with me. I do not have a doctor's note or any kind of ID that says that. I've been asked today, do you have your card? I said, card? There's a card for people that don't wear masks? But anyway, the post office was fine. There was no question of masks. They didn't even mention it. There was a few people that looked a little, scared or sketchy and give you a wide berth, and I'm fine with that. I give people a wide berth as well. I don't have a problem with social distancing during a pandemic, especially if people have symptoms, but I would hope that they would stay home, as I would stay home if I had symptoms. So it's all about common sense. I was a nurse for 10 years. I understand infectious disease. I understand the chain of infection. I understand how to keep things sterile or clean. A whole world there, a discipline around infection that a lot of healthcare workers learn at some point, talking about dressing, wound care, all this kind of stuff. We had to do a lot about viruses, a lot about bacteria, a lot about infection. And I worked for 10 years in nursing, so I dealt with infection as well. And I have, a lot of research knowledge as well to back that up. And I'm willing to have those discussions with people, but most people have absolutely no knowledge. And as soon as you say anything, they say, I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to talk about it. So that was my experience with most people when you try and, bring up medical facts, scientific facts. No, I don't want to hear it. Most people just, I don't understand that. I don't know. They admit it. They don't know. But like I said, the post office was fine. I went in, I did my stuff, I left. No problems. The second store was a glassware shop, one of those pipe shops that a lot of towns have. My wife vaporizes cannabis. She doesn't like to smoke it. She has a prescription. Yes, if anyone cares. Not that we care. We went many years without the prescription and did activism based on that as well. But if it matters, sure, she does have a prescription, and she does need cannabis. It keeps her alive and it keeps her functioning. And doctors have said that on paper. So, but she doesn't bring her paperwork around when she goes to buy cannabis and such. She buys it from black market. She buys it off of the black market. She buys it off of dispensaries that are not government dispensaries, the ones that are just a little bit out of town. That's where we have to go for our medicine. And I don't want to talk too much about that, but we went to buy a replacement piece of glass. It has to be inhaled, vaporized out of glass. And so it's called a rig, and I went to buy a rig, and I went into this shop, and I'd been in there many times before, and the guy said, "Hey bud, you got a mask?" I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you got to have one." And I said, "No, I don't. My doctor said I'm not to have one." And like I said, I don't have paperwork. I just tell people that this is how it is. And that's how I think everyone should do it. My wife does have paperwork. She's very crippled and disabled. She has paperwork saying she's not to wear a mask. And she doesn't bring it when she goes. And it's stressful to not bring it because, it's just not there in your pocket if you ever get really need it. But she says, I'm not going to show it. I should not have to show my papers everywhere I went. I go. And that's what I said today. I should not have to show my papers everywhere I go. And the guy said, "Well, what do you got? Well, what's wrong with you?" I said, "You can't ask people what's wrong with them, man. Like some people have mental health problems, and some of those mental health problems are anxiety, and some of that, can be triggered by people asking them for their papers, questioning them about their illness, when they're just trying to go about their day, just trying to buy food." And the guy said, "Well, I'm just trying to run a business here." And I said, "I understand that. I've run businesses before too. I understand the bottom line. I understand not wanting to get in trouble from the government, but we got to take a stand here. This doesn't even make any sense." The health orders yesterday said that this virus is aerosolized, which means that it goes right through any cloth mask or even any medical mask. Medical masks say right on them, "This does not stop viruses. This does not stop," even it says right on the new ones, they say "This does not stop coronavirus." It says that. So, can bring that up to people. These masks don't work. And they say, "I don't care. I don't care. It's about looks. It's just about showing that you're trying to do something," for a lot of people. And that's scary because, you can put masks on your face, you can put all kinds of stuff over your face. You can wrap your face in plastic to try and stop this virus, and that wouldn't even work. You'd be dead, of course, too. Some people would actually go there, probably. The level of insanity out there is off the hook. This societal change is happening all in one day. And I think it's important. A lot of the change happens especially the first day. You get, diminishing returns for your actions on days after that and on weeks after that. But when something really changes, that very moment is when you actually have to do something about it. You have to be the change, as they say. So I went out and I was walking around without a mask. I was going into stores without masks. I went into every store without a mask. And the third store I went into, after leaving the glassware shop, upset at what happened in there, quite upset. And I went to the grocery store. There was 3 grocery stores that I visited in a row. The first grocery store, there was a guard at the door. And he said, "You got your mask?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, well, I'll have to go get you one." I said, "I'm not going to wear it." And he said, "What?" And I said, "My doctor will not let me wear a mask. And I'm actually getting tired of explaining that to people." And he said, "Well, you have to. Haven't you heard? There's a public health order from Bonnie Henry." And I said, "Yeah, didn't you read the public health order? It said right on there, don't question people that aren't wearing masks, even if they're going into stores. You cannot question them." Bonnie Henry even said, I don't like I care what Bonnie Henry says, but these people are quoting her, and then they're questioning you that you're not wearing a mask. It's like, did you read what she said? Did you read the public health order that you are quoting? That you are stopping people from going into grocery stores about? Anyway, I told the guy I need to shop. I need to get food. I got a baby at home. Can I shop? And he said, "I don't know. I think I have to talk to the manager or something." And I said, I don't want to tell you my health concerns. I have major health concerns and I'm not joking about it, but I'm not going to produce my paperwork, okay? And he said, "Okay, there's nothing I can do about that, okay." And I said, "You're damn right there's nothing you can do about that. Have a look at that public health order from Bonnie Henry if you care about it at all. That's what you're quoting here, and that's why you're stopping me at the door. It's because of what she said, but it says right on there, don't question people that aren't wearing masks." because a lot of people have illnesses, physical and mental, that you can't see. A lot of people are riding around in wheelchairs or limping, or they're blind and they're carrying a cane. A lot of people aren't. And they have major illnesses, major concerns that you don't understand. And we are not to question people. But the amount of questioning out there, I felt like a leper out there. I felt like I was infected. I felt like everyone was scared of me or was angry at me. It was a bizarre experience to be walking around in your own community, as you always do. Not even getting close to people, not even showing any symptoms. There was no reason to be upset with me, except that I was different. I wasn't wearing a mask. The next grocery store I went into, actually I skipped one by. I didn't need anything there, and I didn't have the energy to go and do an extra, just for the sake of going in. And besides, that's counterproductive. We're actually trying not to spread this virus, right? We're not trying to spread it. So I'm not going to stores just to make a point, but I'm not going to stop myself from going into a store if I need to go in there. And if I would have normally gone in there, I'm going to go in. So the next store I went was one I had been in many times. And I was asked at the door, do you have a mask? No. Well, you have to talk to the supervisor. The supervisor came over. I said, I'm tired of explaining myself. I have physical and mental health conditions. I'm tired of saying this. And I'm tired of being questioned about it. I'm not going to produce paperwork everywhere I go around town, 3, 4, 5 different places. When I'm running errands, I'm not going to show my paperwork at every place. It is upsetting and I'm not even going to get into the reasons why I'm not going to have to explain myself, my health conditions, to anybody at a door. These non-healthcare workers, these non-healthcare professionals asking you why. What's wrong with you? Like, I can't see anything wrong with you. Explain yourself. I don't know. Do you have MS? Do you have chronic pain? Do you have fibromyalgia? Do you have spina bifida? Do you have low iron and low oxygen levels? Do you have PTSD? Do you have anxiety? Explain yourself. Do you have all the above? Do you have paperwork to prove it? This is ridiculous. And, when people want to justify why they're doing this to you, when they see that you're upset, they say, well, I'm just doing my job. And then they say stuff like, there's a horrible pandemic going around, and we got to do something about it, i.e. you are not doing something about it, i.e. you are spreading it. I've been, it was insinuated many times while it was out. And this is, I guess, the worst. If you're thinking this is a shit story, it gets a little better from this point on, because then I was told, okay, go into the store. So I went into the store. I started doing some shopping. I was freaked out, just my heart pounding, tired of the harassment and the high stress level, and everyone around you is looking, and it is rough. And there's people that have it worse than me. I know that. I'm not saying I have it worse than anyone else. But I have my issues, and I know other people have some really, really rough issues or similar issues to mine, but just far more severe. So those people, they weren't even at the store. They couldn't handle it. I was barely there. I was barely able to do that. To take a stand, to go out without your mask, and go out without a mask on. I'm trying not to say without your mask, because that's a ridiculous way of saying it. As if everyone has one and everyone is supposed to be wearing their mask. Ridiculous. Anyhow, the manager finally walked over to me after talking to another customer that did not have a mask, and he was being belligerent to her, but she didn't kick him out of the store. And I gave him the thumbs up, just for not wearing a mask, not for being belligerent, but just for being, taking a stand. He saw and he nodded back and stuff, and then when she was done with him, she came over to me and she said, "Excuse me, sir, you don't have your mask." And I said, "I know, I've already talked to your employees about it." And she said, "Well, you have to," and it started getting tense, and I said, "Geez, this is even, it's not even making any sense. You aren't making any sense with this mask mandate. Why do you want me to?" She said, "Just pull your shirt over your face. Anything to show that you're doing something." And I said, "Why? That's what I don't want to do, is just to show that I'm doing something. That's my nightmare. I don't want to just go through the motions and have everyone else just going through the motions and all of us just faking everything constantly. That's no way to live." And she said she took her mask down And she moved closer than anyone would ever stand. And she didn't lower her voice. She spoke directly to me, and I could feel her breath on my face is how close she was. And she said, I know the masks do nothing. I know that. But I have a business to run, and I can't be shut down. I can't have enforcement in here. You have to understand that. And I said, I'm not going to make any trouble for you. I just want to go on spending $500 cash here every month, bringing you money, bringing you currency so that you can keep your bills paid and keep your employees fed, and keep yourself fed, keep your bills paid. And she said, I know. And I have resisted this up to the very last moment. I have resisted this in every way I possibly can. And I said, I know you have. That's why I've supported you. That's why I've been putting comments in your comment box thanking you. And she changed the way she looked, and she said, I'm sorry. And she said, but you have to understand my perspective here. And I said, I don't want to explain that I have physical and mental health issues to everywhere I go. This is scaring me. This is a terrible world that we're entering into. I feel like I must take a stand here. And she said, quietly now, I know we must take a stand, but we have to do it all together. And people aren't ready for it. We're getting close. And I looked at her like, what? I had never heard anyone so awake before in my real life, just bumping into them. I've only meet awake people like that on the internet. But they are out there. And she said, what am I going to do? I have to do something. This pandemic, it's political. She said. I said, I know it's political. And she said, but it's going to ruin me. And I said, I will support you if you support me. And she said, that's a deal. I will support you. I'll tell my employees. Because we already know you by face. We already know who you are. We've seen you. You've been coming here for a year now. And I said, yes. She said, I'll just make it known that you're not to be questioned. And you are not supposed to wear a mask here. And you know what she said? And I'm actually going to make it easier for people to not wear a mask here by starting to spread the idea, and maybe even put up some signs saying, don't question people that aren't wearing a mask because some people have health issues that you can't see. Don't assume that someone is just trying to get away with it or whatever. And what do you mean get away with it? Get away with not putting a mask over your face? Is that really getting away with anything? I wasn't doing it for fun. I was doing it because it's important to me. I was doing this today because I feel I have to, and I feel like the more of us that do, the easier it will be for all of us, and the less likely that this social manipulation, this change forced on us, would be allowed to continue. It wouldn't be able to happen. It's happening because people are acquiescing. And so I'm not going to do that. I will take my precautions, as I have since the start of this. But the amount of fear that's being pushed on the populace, people's fear level is so high, and they're so upset. And you can tell the mentality of people is, why are you not wearing a mask if I have to? They don't care about the virus, a lot of people. There are those people out there that are, freaked out beyond whatever. They're just hiding under their bed half the time, or if they're in public, they're just skittish and almost look like they're about to burst into tears at any moment. And I feel for them too, because that's a terrible way to live as well. No one's having any fun right now. This is not good. But I left there shaky but happy, knowing that I have a source of food, a source of supplements, a source of vitamins. They have good selection there. They have produce there. And I can get nutrients there for my baby. I can get nutrients there for me and my wife. And I can do that all winter now, as long as I can pay for it, as long as I can get there on foot. It's a ways, and we can't drive, but as long as I can keep getting there, I can keep getting food. And that's important to me. We've stored away as much as we can, as much as we could, but it's going to be a long and dark winter, and the lockdown is just only getting heavier and heavier as we go. I went to one more store after that. I had a little bit of trouble, but I was kind of on a roll and just sort of coasted through it, and Didn't have to explain myself there. And then the last store was a positive experience. The very last store was a hobby shop. I went and I picked up some silver coins. I got a good deal, I think below spot even on some half-ounce silver coins. Maybe I'll do a different post about that. But I haven't even looked. He just handed them to me. I tossed them in my pocket. I trust the guy. Handed him the cash he wanted. I'm sure it's a good deal. It always has been. And he said he is freaked out about the closures coming. He thinks that all businesses are going to be closed. He's not even sure if he's supposed to be open right now. He's not essential, but he's trying to stay open as long as he can because it's the Christmas season. And he says this is his busiest time of year, these next 2 weeks. If he's shut down now, he's going to miss his 2 busiest weeks of the year. And he kind of only really kind of squeaks by each year as it is. So this is important for him. But there was no masks there, and he admitted, we talked about it a bit. He's fairly awake. He was saying, yeah, he's tired of it. It's all political. It's all being done for some agenda. There are many people awake, some new awake people, and some people that have been awake for a while that are coming out of the woodwork. But it looks to me like there is a split in society, and it's almost half and half, at least here where I am. Almost half and half in terms of people that are awake and on board with what we talk about on this channel, and the kind of people that have known that something like this was coming for a long time and maybe even been trying to warn others about it, like I have on this channel. And then there's the other side of people who are, I guess, the statist side. They want the masks, they want the vaccines. Everyone else is a conspiracy theorist. Everyone else is crazy nut jobs. Everyone else is trying to spread the virus and kill grandma. It's terrible. There's a horrible rift in society, and it feels manufactured. It feels done on purpose, and it feels like it's not the end. It feels like it's just going to get worse and accelerate from here. I would love to stay positive, and I will hope for the best, but I think I'm planning for the worst anyway, being prepared for as much as I can, and then just hoping for things to turn out better than that. But today, it was a stressful day here, and I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just expressing, that's how it is. That's what happened today here in BC. And I think a lot of places are going through this. A lot of people are going through this. And everyone has their reasons for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. And I think people should have the right to do that, either wearing or not wearing a mask in public. I don't think you have the right to spit on people. I don't think you have the right to get, in somebody up to someone's face unless there's some kind of rapport there and you're talking to someone and it's understood or whatever. But you don't come right up to people. You don't spit in people's faces. You got to wear your shirt, your shoes in public. But I think that masks are not going to be added to that list. I don't think it's going to be no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. At least I really, really hope not, because we know that they don't work. We know this virus is aerosolized as well as in spit droplets. So wearing something over your face that stops spit droplets doesn't stop the virus. It only stops those spit droplets. The virus being aerosolized is everywhere, and all it takes is a few of those viruses to get to someone else to infect them. So, and we got to remember, as I said to the store owner in the one grocery store, I said, I think everybody almost has already had this. And she says, I know they have. Yes, you're right. I agree with you. So it was very stressful, but there is a silver lining. There are people out there that are awake, and there is a resistance to this. And even some of them are in positions of owning grocery stores and other businesses. And I think that we have people on our side. So I want to encourage anybody, if you aren't wearing a mask, thank you. Thank you. If you're immunocompromised, if you have symptoms, if you've been told to isolate, all that kind of stuff, I'm not saying that you should go around sharing your germs with people. I'm talking about common sense. I'm talking about not having to mandate masks, not having to force people to wear masks. Everyone should be allowed to wear it if they want. Absolutely. But they don't work, and forcing people to wear things that don't work just to go through the motions is degrading, and it is a way to dissolve society slowly by making people do things that make absolutely no sense, and eventually people don't question it. They just say, I don't know, I just do what I'm told. It makes no sense, I know that. Or maybe they don't even know that. Maybe they don't even pay attention to whether it makes sense or not anymore. They just don't care. They just do what they're told. And anything other than that scares them. Anyone doing anything other than that, or anyone suggesting they try anything other than that, it just freaks them right out. So we have this major divide between two ideologies, basically, in society, and it's being done on purpose right now. Now is the time to decide whether you are going to put something ineffectual over your face to show that you are submissive and doing your part to be, part of the solution, or you're going to use common sense and wear a mask if needed, and not wear a mask when you don't need to wear a mask, and not feel that you must mandate masks. Or also, thank you to those who are not pressuring people who aren't wearing masks to do so. Thank you for being lenient on people. Thank you for understanding that people don't want to explain every time they go anywhere. Imagine if you go to 6 or 7 stops like I do when I go out running errands in town on foot. How would you feel if you had to explain yourself to different employees every time? It's never going to be the same employee at these shops. Well, occasionally it will be, but will they remember you? You are explaining yourself constantly to people, and I'm private. I don't really talk about that. I've talked about various aspects of my health concerns on this channel before, but I have some degree of privacy that I like to maintain when I'm out and about in public and in my community. I don't want to explain everything about, I don't have any communicable illnesses, but I do have severe physical and mental health. Some of it's undiagnosed, the physical stuff. I have something similar to MS, but I don't know what it is. And this pandemic is making diagnosis very, very hard, which was even impossible up to this point. I've been trying for 4 years to get a proper diagnosis. So this is really putting a damper on that. But man, I feel for people who have it even worse than I do. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon, and stay well.